Yeah. This ain't about gossip. This ain't about noise. This is about ownership, clarity, strategy, power. Mind your business. Level up, no limits. Stop grinding in it. Start building a vision. CEO mindset. Boss moves relentless. Cut the confusion. It's time to get intentional. You've been working overtime, still feel behind. Chasing every trend like it's the finish line. Busy all day, but the profit don't climb. That ain't a hustle issue, it's a strategy sign. Everybody talking, everybody selling. Blueprints, copy paste, but nobody telling. You the power source, you the engine. Clarity first, then scale with intention. No more guesswork, no doubt, no more building from burnout. You don't need louder, you need a line. Stop working in it, start owning what's mine.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Gurll Mind Your Business. This is a podcast where we talk real, we talk bold, and we get into everything it takes to build a life and a business on your own terms. I'm your host, Cade, and today is one of those episodes you are going to want to save, share, and come back to, because my guest today is doing something that I believe is one of the most important conversations that you can be having right now, not just in business, but in life. She's helping women understand the story running in their heads is either building them or breaking them. And she has a framework, a book, and a journey to help you change the story starting today. My guest is Sharon Harris. Sharon is the founder of Real Beauty A to Z. Now, how about that? A to Z, a platform dedicated to helping women understand how their patterns of thinking shape their identity, their responses, and ultimately their outcome. She's the author of the ABC Real Beauty, choosing not to be defined by circumstances or the world around us. She's the creator of the Identity Stewardship Journey, a practical faith-centered experience designed to help women move from awareness and clarity and authority of their thinking. Through her writing, her teaching, and her conversations, Sharon has helps women recognize their internal narratives that have been quietly shaping the way they think themselves. Let's welcome Sharon to the stage, and let me find her so I can add her to the stage. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. Morning.
So I'm happy to have you. Look, I've been waiting on this, but it's so many women that don't know who they are, where they're going, or whatever they're doing. And my platform is for empowerment of women. And after I spoke with you, I just knew you had to be on my show. Just give us a brief, synopsis of you, and we'll get started.
Okay, well, I appreciate you having me on today, and I applaud what you're doing because, like you said, a lot of us are just kind of haphazardly going through life and not realizing, the thoughts that we're playing over in our minds, how that affects the way that we show up in the world. And just so briefly about me, it's been a minute. I think back in 2013 was when I actually wrote the first book, The ABCs of Real Beauty. And my thought process was, if women, kind of like the saying goes, if you learn better, you do better.
Right.
So I came up with a concept that, would help women recognize the lies that are being told to them, on a daily basis. A lot of it we don't even realize, but helping them identify and replace those lies with the truth. And it was all born out of a conversation that I actually overheard some young ladies talking in a beauty supply store of all places. But they were on, like a couple of hours over from me. And I heard they got on the subject of hair, and I heard one of them say something to the effect of how much she hated her hair.
Mm,
And it was to the point that I could hear the frustration in her voice. And so, me being a little nosy, I kinda go around the corner, and see who's there, and when they saw me,
right.
they immediately took off. But this one young lady was still standing there, and I told her, I said, "Sweetheart," I was like, "hate is a really strong word."
It is.
And she was almost in tears, and she said, "But I do. I just hate it. I just hate it," and then she left. And that really bothered me,
Mm,
and we all have things that we may not necessarily like about ourselves, but for some
right.
reason that conversation sort of, I guess it marked me. And so from then on, I started thinking, it's like, well, God said that He created us in His image. And
Right.
we're really that unhappy with the way we see ourselves or what we believe about ourselves. If this bothers me, He must be grieved.
Right.
And so that kind of set me on the path of doing some research and seeing how much money is spent, on things that we use to basically change ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, where's this coming from? And so I think the defining moment for me was, okay, I'm out here preaching this, love yourself, see yourself the way that God creates you, identify the lies. But then in my own personal life, I started to have some life challenges and then realize that maybe I'm not believing everything that I'm telling everybody else to believe.
Exactly.
And so that's when I realized how, experiences that we've had in childhood, you know, the media, things that we don't realize are in our ears on a daily basis start to kind of replay, over and over in our minds. And of course, what we hear on a daily basis, we begin to adopt. And so then my narrative became, okay, after everything that you've been through, who's going to want to listen to you? And
Right.
so for several years, I was in hiding, I'll be honest,
Mm,
dealing with that same thing. But the passion, I guess the vision never went away. I could kind of push it off and, put it to the side, but it kept bubbling up. It kept bubbling up. And I kind of got to the point where I thought, okay, the Lord keeps bringing this back for a reason. And if I don't act on it, I'm going to lose it or, something will happen. So,
right.
and I don't be in that place. And so
Right.
that prompted the rewrite of the book. And so that's where I came up with the subtitle of Choosing Not to Be Defined by Circumstances and the World Around Us, because it is a choice and we do have to choose.
It is. And that's great. See, that goes to show you. You say, this didn't you didn't plan on this. It found you.
Mm-mm. It found me.
Found you. And a lot of times we don't have to look for things. It just show up. And my mom used to always say, if you just wait, it'll come to you. And
Mhm.
we don't realize it at the time, but there's a reason for everything. Just like this platform. I talk to so many people and I'm no scholar. I don't know everything, but for some reason, everybody wanna know my opinion. So I figure if I can help somebody with this platform, then I've done my job. So, but let's get into all of this other stuff. Now,
Uh,
you're a HR professional. You currently work as an executive compensation manager for this company. And at the same time, you're a founder, you're an author, identity coach. Now, just be honest. How in the world does all that exist? Coexist. And which one came first?
I tell you, only by the grace of God does that
Yeah.
exist. But you're right in how things tend to find us, and I think it's just being open and, being honest with yourself. There are some days that I'm sure you are the same way. You just don't feel like doing anything.
Oh, no.
But what I've learned to do is challenge those thoughts. And it's like,
Mhm,
okay, is this coming from a place of, sincere tiredness, or am I just being lazy? And
mhm,
so that's when you kind of have to pull up the bootstraps and, overcome whatever that thought process is. Now, if it is true tiredness, I do listen. I will listen
oh,
to my
yeah.
body. And, rest is very important. I will do
Yeah.
that. But if it's just that I'm just being lazy, I can get myself kind of past that. But
Mhm,
I've worked in HR, oh gosh, probably about 30 or more years now, kind of telling my age. So I've always kind of been around people, always. I'm kind of that quiet, observant one. I listen a lot.
yeah.
And so I listen to what people say, I observe kind of what they do. And I've always kind of had that, you know, inkling or that passion, I guess, for helping
Mhm,
people. And so if I can come up with something that I think can help you solve a problem, I'm the one. So the job is just kind of what I do. The writing of the book and the coaching and all that is kind of what I do on the side in my spare time. but
mhm,
but it I know it's something that I need to do, and so I do find time to do it. I mean, it took a while to write the book,
mhm,
and that was some of the overcoming of the lies because you hear people say, "Oh, you've gotta do this in this time frame, and you gotta have a certain thing done by this time." And I've realized it's like what works for you may not necessarily work for me.
exactly.
And so while you may turn a book around, in 3 months, it might take me a year to do it.
Mhm,
But I think it's being consistent. So, as I was writing it, I tried to do something at least every day, even if it was just 1 or 2 sentences. I would put into it what I could. When I had extra time, I would pour, more time into it. And so it's a balancing act, but when you, I guess, are determined, you find time to do
mhm,
what it is that you wanna do. So,
mhm.
uh
That and that's so true. You know, like, I was telling you earlier, I hurt my back, and this lady was telling me, I just mentioned to her. I said, "Oh, I hurt my back the other day." And, "Well, why are you not in the bed?" And I'm like, "Why I got to be in the bed just because I hurt my back? I mean, can I not do what I want to do?" "Oh, you probably need to go to the doctor. Oh, you need medicine." I'm like, it's a mindset.
Mhm,
Wherever you
mhm.
are in life, your mind got there first, and it can take you wherever you wanna go. People don't realize that, but, enough about me. That's
But I
that's
like that. I like what did you just say? Is like
wherever you
wherever
are
you
in life,
are, your mind
your
your
mind got
mind
there
was
first, because
first.
if
That's
you
right.
don't tell yourself you can do certain things, I coulda laid in the bed, I coulda done and just let people wait on me and do it, but that's not who I am. People don't understand. You gotta get up, you gotta do whatever it takes for you, nobody else. When
Right,
I
right.
when I was in the 8th grade, I will never forget, we had a teacher, she was a substitute. We were cutting up, and we did it just because we know we could. She grabbed her stuff and she walked out, and we were like, "Oh, yeah, she's gone." 10 minutes later, she came back. And she was like, "I refuse to give y'all what you need." She said, "But let me what you want, but let me tell you what you need is somebody to tell you the truth." She
Mhm.
said, "I already have what I need. Y'all gotta get where I gotta go." So it all through life, you just need to tell yourself, "I am, I can, I will." And that's
That's
stuff.
it. That's real.
And I was like, "Okay, that's deep, but it's good."
It's
And
good.
I always remember that whenever I go through something.
Mhm.
So, but what was the turning point for you that just made it real?
That made let's see, I think there's a saying that says, what is it? when you're sick and tired of
Being
being
sick and
sick and
tired.
tired,
Yes.
I think I realized, kind of like the children of Israel, I was going around the same mountains
Right.
over and over again. And it's like, Lord, why? Why do I keep encountering, the same thing? And that's one thing about him. If he's determined for you to do something,
Oh, yes.
you may put it off, but it's gonna come around. He's
Mhm.
gonna work with you until, and I think he gives us grace until we figure out, I just need to do what he's telling me to do. But I think that was the thing. You know, I I worked with myself, had talked to some coaches, some therapists, of my own, and they kind of helped me realize this mindset thing.
Mhm.
And once I think I just kind of came to myself and realized, okay, nobody else is going to do it for me.
Mhm.
It's not going to do it by itself. I'm going to have to be the one.
Right.
And, that lie thing, I really want to emphasize the point that people need to question their thoughts.
Mhm.
They need to ask themselves why they believe what they believe. Where do those thoughts come from? And I think it was not until I actually did that and realized that I was believing lies, and some of them I may have heard from other people. Some most I was telling myself. And that I think is the importance of community as well. I think everybody needs to have at least, you don't have to have a whole huge following. You just need
Right.
one or two safe people
Right.
that you can talk to, somebody that is going to be honest with you
Mhm.
and truthful and tell you, yeah, I know that's what you believe, but that's not what I see, or
Right.
that's not the truth. And I think my real revelation came from the fact that just because those thoughts reoccur, it doesn't mean that you're failing.
That's
They're
right.
gonna come back. And that's demonstrated. I always use a lot of examples from the Bible, but if you know the story of Jesus when he was led into the wilderness, it talks about how Satan kept coming to him, if you be the son of God, do this, do this. Well, God knew who he was, but that didn't silence the enemy. The enemy kept trying. And it even says in one of the accounts that the enemy left him for a more opportune time. And so a lot of times when we think we've come something, we've conquered it, we've got it behind us, we're moving on, the enemy's just waiting for us
Mhm.
to be either tired, hungry,
Right.
waiting for us to get into one of those pressure type situations. And he sees that as an opportune time to bring back whatever those negative thoughts are.
Right.
And we just have to be on guard to know that, okay, it is going to come back. And just because it does come back doesn't mean that we fail. It doesn't mean that we haven't overcome. We just need to be on guard to attack that lie with the truth immediately, put
Right.
it behind us and keep going. It's kind of like when, we were in school, we used to practice for fire drills. And it's kind of like it's a memory type thing. You hear the horn, you automatically know, okay, this is
Right.
where I need to go. This is my place of safety. And they do that because when the emergency comes, you don't panic. You just automatically, it kicks in as like, okay, this is where I need to go. And it's
Right.
the same way with the truth, that we replace these lies with truth, and it's a practice. We have to get into a rhythm where we're constantly reminding ourselves of what is the truth, so that when we do get into those pressure situations, we don't panic, we don't crash out. We automatically know, okay, this is what I need to do, or this overcomes this, so this is how I need to move, or this is how I need to show up. And so again, I think that's the discovery that I made, is like, just because things show up again doesn't mean, you know, again, that I failed or that I've lost the battle. It's
Right.
my opportunity to practice, get it in gear, and then just keep moving.
Right. Right. So that's great. And like you said, a lot of times we have been so programmed as a child to do XYZ. we don't know any better because we think that way was the right way, and it was
Right.
not. I I know of an example right now. Well, that's just what we did. You're a grown adult. Can you not think for yourself now? I mean, and I always tell people, I wish, XYZ would do this. You got to be the change you want to see. You can't expect
Mhm.
somebody else to do something if you're not making an effort. We're so quick to say, I'm not doing that because they not doing this. So nobody's gonna move. You're gonna stay where you are. How do you
Yep.
expect a different result if you keep doing the same thing? I
That's
just don't get it. I
Yeah, the definition of insanity, I think is what it says,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
after a while you do, and I know one of the biggest lies I'm starting to hear now is, we're in that age group now that are we're getting mature.
yeah,
And I hear a lot of people, giving up and they're resigning themselves. Well, okay, this is the age that I need to retire and I'm going to sit down and I'm not going to do anything. And it's like, I don't think, to me, that's backwards
it
because
is.
now you've experienced life. You've got, a wealth of wisdom that you can
Mhm,
share with other people. And
mhm.
so I don't think now is the time to sit back, especially with what's happening now,
Right,
in culture and what's happening in the world. We need
right,
people that have been through and come out of certain situations to share.
right. R
And that was one of the things I think I was hiding behind was shame,
Mm,
not wanting to reveal my story. And it's not that you have to tell every gory detail of
right,
anything that's happened to you, but that's what people need because if they're in that situation, they're wanting to hear from someone else. Well, how did you overcome it? What
right,
things did you do? What steps did you take to get out of it? And that's what helps them. And so,
right,
yeah, it may have been an inconvenience or something that, of course, we may not be proud of, bad decisions or what have you. But I think that just makes us stronger and makes us more valuable to the next generation to help, keep them from repeating some of the same mistakes.
right. And, we learn from our mistakes, so if we don't make mistakes, what are we gonna learn?
How do you know? I know. Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm always, I'm one of those people. It doesn't matter to me what you did, where you been, where you live. That stuff is not important. What's
Mhm.
important is, do you need somebody to talk to?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And that's all. Some people they just want somebody to listen.
That's
That
it. That's it.
so our time is winding up, but so who is the woman your framework was built for?
I would say probably the woman that is probably the more mature individual.
Mhm.
Somebody who's dealing with, probably chronic comparison. They have lingering self-doubt. They, have a lot of negative self-talk going on. And even, the women who are in church, yeah, they
Mm.
can quote the scriptures, but
Oh, yeah.
do they really believe, what it says? Maybe they've read all types of devotionals and done all kinds of things, but they're really not living out, the life that they desire. We're
Mhm.
really good at putting on masks and
Yeah.
performing,
Mhm.
to make things look a certain way so that people will perceive us a certain way, but then behind that we're suffering. And so I think it is one for those women, but even for the younger generation that's coming along. I want them to be aware of the lies that are being told. These are, I guess, voices without faces,
Right,
is what I
right.
call them basically. But saying that you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way, you have to do things a certain way, and that's not necessarily part of their design. I want them to question those thoughts. And I believe, I'm one of those that believe in the Bible. I believe that that's where the truth actually is.
Right.
And so I want them to start comparing what they're hearing, what they're believing with the truth,
Right.
replacing the lies with truth, and then just getting into a steady rhythm of practicing that. So that, like I said, when the pressure does come, they'll know how to respond and they know that they have a choice. They don't have to be defined by, circumstances or the world around them.
That's right. Y'all look, if you just felt something when she said that, just get ready because I'm just gonna have you back, Sharon. And we just don't we got a lot we gotta go through and it's almost a shame. It's not enough platforms out there to talk to women. I mean, I can tell you how to do hair, do nails, do your toes, what to buy and all, but that's not what's important. That's
That's right, right.
but
And, entitle, it's from A to Z. So you're
Mhm,
right. I mean, it's a lot that falls within that, that framework, a lot to
mhm,
unpack and a lot to uncover. It's not just physical. It's a mindset. It's a
it is.
mindset.
It is.
Yeah.
But let's do a little commercial break right here. This episode is brought to you by Black Women's AI Network, where technology meets tenacity and anything is possible. Now, what if the most powerful tool in your business is not your hustle? It's intelligence. We're going to talk about that because the truth is the women who are winning right now are the ones building efficient, creative powerhouse businesses. Black Women's AI Network is that digital sanctuary that helps you build your powerful community, get you through the crossroads of technology and sisterhood. Black Women's AI Network is the moment and is seeing the new standards for what women entrepreneurs can achieve, not someday, not eventually. Now, Black Women's AI Network is where technology meets tenacity and anything is possible. Now, Sharon,
Yes.
that statement, you are not broken, the thinking patterns are. Where did you come up with that?
I don't even know at this point. But now I do applaud what you're saying about technology
Mm,
because I think that is a tool that we now have access to whether
mm,
we don't have to do all the work by ourselves. I mean, it
exactly.
all starts with us. It all starts with our thought processes, but we do have technology that can, help us along. And so I have used it a couple of times to say, give me a catchy way to say this, or,
Mhm,
give me something, a thought provoking way to say
mhm.
this particular thing. And so that could be where that came from.
Okay, okay. I said, when I read that, I said, that's pretty cool. You are not
Mhm.
broken. Your thinking is just off.
Your thinking
That's
is.
the truth. That is the truth.
It
And I
is.
felt
It
it when
is.
I read it. I felt it. But and it goes back to mindset is everything. People don't
Mhm.
realize how critical mindset is. Now,
Yeah, it is.
if I had listened to everybody else, I wouldn't be doing this because honestly, I was told a million times, "Oh, you too old to be doing this. You need to stop
See?
doing it." What does age have to do with anything? It's a mindset. That's
A
all it is.
mindset.
The
Yeah, I
the
think what Moses was in his 80s, wasn't he? When he
right,
did
right,
you know,
right.
Caleb, before he got his mountain, yeah, age is just a mindset. And like I said,
Mhm,
I think people are appreciating it a little bit more
mhm,
because really, I mean, there's some wonderful information out there, social media, that's one thing that it is good for is getting information out there. But I look and I'm not being discriminatory or anything. I mean, it's just factual. But I look
mhm.
at some of, the people and I'm thinking, I don't think you've been through this. I don't think you really understand, you know, and it's one thing to read it in a book, but it's
Mhm.
a whole different level. when
Mhm.
you lived it, and you've experienced it. And
Right.
so I think there is becoming a greater appreciation for those of us who I call seasoned,
Mhm.
but information that we can share. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, before we go, just tell everybody I wanna get your little final thoughts, and what I'm gonna do is run your information across the bottom, but you can just keep talking while
Okay.
write it down.
All right. Yep. I appreciate again the opportunity to speak to the people on your platform, but you can find me as the scroll is showing at www.realbeauty in the number 2z.com. On the website, I've got a freebie that I'm giving away, so make sure you sign up for that. But the book, if you are interested in purchasing it, you'll be able to purchase it from the website. And then there's another resource that you had mentioned earlier about the identity journey that can be purchased there as well. So again, www.realbeautya2z.com.
Okay. Well, we're gonna end for the moment, but I will have you back because I really got a lot from this episode. Now, anybody listen, if you got anything, you know somebody that need this, like, share, subscribe, get sharing up. You know, we just gotta be accessible and empower each other
Yeah.
because
Yes.
in this environment, we need each other more than ever right now.
More than ever. I remember my pastor made a comment, it's like, "You can't be your best self by yourself."
That's
We do
right.
need each other. We do.
That's right. You know, they used to say it takes a village. Honey, it's taking the whole country.
I kn Yes, yes. It
So
is.
so on that note, we're gonna leave for now.
Okay.
Y'all go be great.